Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Today I want to do a little bit of a different video. I'm going to go over the next few videos, do an introduction about some of the portfolio companies that are being invested in by Cult Food Science. A, because I've put some money in there, and B, because over the past couple weeks that I've been in the Bay Area, I've gone to a lot of taste tests and just learned a lot more about these companies. So I want to start doing some individual videos. This next video is going to be about Meli Bio. And I could do so many videos on the state of the honey industry and why it needs to change. But this is a great company that I personally want to invest in, because if you've heard about bees or the honey industry, there's been all kinds of issues from, 10 years ago, there's a huge scandal around China selling a lot of fake honey into the US market. And we've had environmental issues that have cropped up. We've had the collapse of a lot of bee colonies that have come up. So there's a lot of different issues in the honey industry. And while by no means should we be completely replacing beekeepers because we need honey from bees, we do need to look at alternative solutions, because we've just fully industrialized that supply chain now to the point where A, the supply chain can't keep up with it. We're getting all these fake products, but B, all the environmental issues and just collapse of the bee colonies because we're over industrializing them as well. So I'm going to show a number of clips to kind of go over the issues, and then I'm going to do something different to look at the original pitch by the CEO of Meli Bio, because I just think it's really good as an investor to start looking at these pitches from these early companies. So with that, let's get into the video.
Meli Bio is the world's first company to make real honey without bees. And we're doing that using our patent-pending technology, including plant science and biofermentation.
We exist to reduce our need for cultivating honeybees and thereby allow there to be less competition in native habitats with wild and native bees, allowing them to do their amazingly important job of pollinating this planet.
We at Meli Bio are essentially building the honey platform. There are over 300 different varieties of honey, and we as a honey company want to have a technology to address all kinds of varieties of honey out there. Food and science interacting is one of the best things happening for the humankind to evolve into efficient producers of our own food, accessible to everyone, that doesn't come at a cost for the survival of this planet. We are here to make the future of honey kind, sustainable, and animal-free.
Now we've seen a quick introduction of the company that makes honey without bees. In the next couple clips, we're going to look at a couple of the issues that are present in the current industries and supply chains. These are all videos and interviews that I'm finding online from my own research. I will put the full links to those below. I highly recommend you check out the full interviews because they're super helpful to really understanding more about this company.
So super excited to be here with you, Darko. Thank you so much for being on Meet the Creators.
It's great having you today, Jordan. Thanks for putting bees on the agenda of this amazing project.
Of course. Could you give us a little bit of background about yourself, a little bit of intro for our audience?
Absolutely. My name is Darko Mandic, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of Meli Bio. We are the world's first company using science to make real honey without bees. We're based in San Francisco Bay Area, specifically in Oakland. And the Meli Bio team is very excited to deliver the future of honey that's sustainable, delicious, nutritious, and animal-free.
Let's go to the bees. How are we going to have honey without bees?
So if you would ask people on the streets if they heard, is there anything going on with the bees? I think most of the people would exactly guess that something what's happening with the bees is actually not great for the bees and for the planet. So I think there's this general awareness that bees are being jeopardized. But what many people don't know is the specifics of the story around bees. And let me walk you into that. Essentially, humans figured out how we can domesticate bees. And when I say bees, there's only one bee species called Apis mellifera, or European honeybee, that's being domesticated. And people put honeybees in beehives and use them for honey production and pollination. So what's happening with the bees is that there's this rapid decline of bee biodiversity that, amongst other reasons, is actually generated by the overpopulation of these domesticated European honeybees that humans artificially bred to meet the demand for honey production. So it's like an unfortunate turf war, and it's honeybees being sponsored by humans by being artificially created in a way that, when introduced into ecosystems that they've never been before, they leave no space for bumblebees, green metallic bees, blue orchard mason bees to survive. So Melibio and our company, by making honey without bees, we directly help that pressure is being removed. And by removing the pressure of honeybees and wild and native bee species, we directly help restoring that bee biodiversity. And what does that mean for us in this planet? More different bee species, the more developed bee biodiversity, there's more opportunity for wild and native bees to pollinate wild and native plants. And wild and native plants are necessary for this planet to fight the battle with CO2 emissions.
For beekeepers, the care of the colony is a sacred cause. Even so, for more than a decade, bees around the world have been dying in record numbers.
You never know, even though you got your bees all up and going and they look good, you never know. You can go back in 2 weeks and your bees will all be gone. They just disappear, and so that's colony collapse. And they have never figured it out. They never find them. It's not like they've been sprayed. They're not laying dead on the ground in front of the hive like they've been sprayed.
When the crisis erupted around 2006, it was labeled colony collapse disorder. Today, scientists believe the bees are dying from a combination of stresses, brought on by parasites, by insecticides, and by agribusiness monocultures that replace flowering meadows with acres of crops which offer bees no nectar at all. Beekeepers have found ways to rebuild their bee colonies, but the amount of honey the bees make keeps dropping.
We work very hard to ameliorate all of these stress factors on bees, and yet our colony loss numbers in the United States are right now at about 50% per year. It would be shocking if all the cattle ranchers of America said, we lost half our cattle this winter. But somehow when the beekeeper says we lost half our bees, it's not quite as shocking.
For the last clip, that was taken from a Netflix documentary called Rotten, and they have a whole episode on honey and the honey industry. Highly recommend you watch that. I'll put the link to the full Netflix episode below as well, including I found that clip on YouTube and thought I'd put it in there because it's a really good documentary to understand some of the issues. Next, we'll go to the pitch that Darko made. He's made quite a few of them that you can find online, but this is one of them, and he just really explains in more detail what the opportunity is for honey, especially for honey made without bees. Let's get into the pitch.
Hi everyone, my name is Darko Mandic, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of Melibio from Berkeley, California, and we use science to make honey. As all of you know, honey is one of the most amazing food ingredient that ever existed. It's one of the rare ingredients that found its way even to religious books, and many cultures praise honey for its amazing benefits that go beyond the taste and the sweetness.
Ancient civilizations were using honey a lot, and as some of the previous speaker mentioned, one of the biggest breakthrough was made in 19th century when a priest, Lorenzo Langstroth, invented a Langstroth hive that's used widely for honey production. In 2020, we're doing things differently. We're producing real honey, the same one like the bees are making it, just without the honeybees as medium of production. Last year, honey was a $10 billion industry. It's projected to hit $14 billion in 2025, and it's one of the fastest growing segments of $100 billion sugars and sweeteners industry.
$14 billion. I'm just going to jump in here really quick because that is so important to really understanding what the opportunity is for this industry. And if we look at the current issues, the current supply chain, and we've already reached really the limits of that supply chain, and we can't grow it more. We have issues with poor quality and just fake products that we're getting from a lot of other countries like China especially, and there's a lot of issues now with bee colony collapse, and we clearly can't scale the current supply chain to meet this growing demand, and so we already have an issue with that. And here we have a product that we can actually manufacture, which is real honey, and we don't have those same constraints as the current industry. And so there's just such a huge opportunity here for Meli Bio to capture if they really are able to scale up their whole product in a way that they could.
If you walk into a supermarket, you'll find honey in a face cream, in granola, in a bar, or even in a bourbon. There's no category in supermarket across food, beverage, cosmetics, and personal care that doesn't contain at least one SKU having honey as an ingredient. So what we see as problems in the way how honey is produced. From the vegan perspective, it's unethical to use animals for honey, for producing any products. But we believe here that even more importantly is the sustainability issue. This conference is about honeybees, but we also believe that other 20,000 wild and native bee species and pollinators need to get their spotlight too. Because with the rising demand for honey, more and more beehives were installed, and that showed a negative effect on the wild bees. They've been pushed back, and this is one of the main reasons why we need to rethink the way how we produce honey. From the efficiency perspective, honey is only produced within a couple of weeks, within a couple of crops, within a year, making this product very expensive and prone to volatility.
Hugely underrated point, the efficiency of production, right? And so that's really one of the major reasons that we have so many issues with the industry today, because bees only produce honey for a certain number of weeks in a year, and we can only harvest that at certain times, and it really just biologically limits our production. And so in order to scale that up, we just need more bees. And if we have more bees, that can take away a lot of the pollination and just a lot of the space in the ecosystem for a lot of other bees that don't necessarily produce honey that we consume, but that we actually need to have a functioning ecosystem. So this is, as we saw in one of the earlier clips, one of the reasons why we have such an issue with bee health and colony collapse, because because we have to scale our system up, but because bees can't actually produce enough honey to satisfy our growing demand, we need to have more bees, but that then takes away from the existing bees. And so the ability to actually create honey without needing those bees opens up such an enormous opportunity, because we can reduce that stress on the ecosystem, and we can also create way more honey that we need to meet demand at a price point that we can afford, so that we don't have to be fighting with other just fake products and spending all these resources on dealing with shitty fake product. And we can actually have a secure supply chain of honey that's scalable for the demand that we have for it. And it's just so much better in every way. I can't emphasize this efficiency point enough. It's a lot of people are like, oh, this is really important for climate change and ecosystems, and that's true in so many ways. And a lot of these companies that you see are really advertising that point because it is important, but it's also just going to completely change how we get our honey, and it just creates so much more supply, and so that will bring costs down even more, and it will create a safer supply chain where we don't have all these fake products. And I think while the climate ecosystem points are super valid, I don't think those other efficiency points and just actually getting quality product that's not bullshit is talked about enough. So I really just want to emphasize that.
So we at Melibio, we make the real honey without the use of bees, using our proprietary technology that we developed solely in-house that is based on plant science, microbiology, and fermentation. We're basically using the same ingredients that honey coming from the bees is made of. We're just finding different ways to put them together and not only get the real taste and texture, but also the functional benefits of a product. This is me and my co-founder, Dr. Scheller, holding world's first real honey made without bees in our lab in Berkeley a couple of months ago. Our team is of 10 people right now, but the core people are presented here. We have industry experts, Dr. Tahiri and Mr. Douglas Taylor. My co-founder Scheller has a PhD degree from UC Berkeley. He's a passionate gardener and amateur chef too. Myself, I've been in the honey business for 10 years now. First 8 years I've spent selling traditional honey and building businesses across Europe. When I found out about the negative effects of my industry, I turned vegan myself and decided to change the industry that I've been building. Our product is not only having a positive impact on bee biodiversity, therefore our environment, but it's also solving some of the crucial pain points of the honey industry today, which is the complicated supply chain that's made of a farmer, honey collector, honey processor, honey wholesaler. In terms of our technology, Melibio is all of that. Also, companies need to reach to different parts of the world to get different types of honey. We at Melibio provide full customization of honey varieties and tastes for our clients. We guarantee that our honey is always adulterant-free, which can't be the case with every beekeeper because they cannot control the entire perimeter of honeybees' flight. We are going into the market this year with our first product, which is plant-based honey made only from plant-based ingredients that are already found in honey coming from the bees. And we're partnering with small to large companies and help them to provide them with a plant-based honey with vegan honey ingredient that they will be using in their products. We raised a pre-seed round of $1.3 million until today, and later this year, we're opening up our $5 million seed round. Thank you very much for listening to this pitch, and we really look forward to having a great conversation with all the stakeholders in the space and build a better future, better for bees and better for humans. Thank you very much.
Now, I don't know about you, but I just see such a huge opportunity in this market. Luckily, when I was down there, I got to do a taste test. And yeah, I highly encourage you to look more into this company. Really, really excited about the opportunity that it could have. And I got to meet a lot of the team when I was at the Stanford Food Hack. And they did a presentation on the company. I got to taste the honey. It's delicious. It's so good. And I really just see great things for this company. So assuming they can build their product, which is looking like they will do more manufacturing next year, I do think there's a huge opportunity for them. I'm Chris. Thanks for watching.